I'm going to start with this. I do not like the Paperboy games. I understand that I'm in the minority here. A lot of people like this simplistic arcade game, but it is not for me. But I can't believe that I haven't talked about it yet, so here we are. For the sake of this review, I'm talking about the SNES port of the game, but when you get down to it, most of the versions are pretty identical. The plot of the game is very simple. You play as a paperboy or paper girl whose differences are only cosmetic in nature. You have to deliver papers to homes that have mailboxes set up in the street, while avoiding the hostilities in the town. To deliver papers, your character hops on a bicycle and rides down the street and sidewalks. You have a button to launch papers to the left, and a button to launch papers to the right. Really, that's all you need. The directional pad controls your movement, with up speeding you up, and down activating the brakes. Now, if all you had to do was place newspapers into a mailbox, there wouldn't be much to the game. So naturally, there's plenty of stuff to stop you in your humble duty. From innocent enough hazards like two people playing basketball on the parking pad, to a guy running a lawnmower, to a crew hauling a heavy couch. You have to evade these citizens just having fun or doing their jobs. But there are also some other non-human threats. Barking dogs, a runaway scarecrow, a ghost. Almost everything is out to get you. Not to mention the stationary obstacles like gates, trash cans, fences, and the sort. The newspapers you fling don't just exist to keep people wanting news happy. You can use them as a sort of offensive tool. If a threat is coming towards you, you can throw a newspaper at them to attempt to stop them in their tracks. Just be careful, as missing may cause a broken window or two, which might pose even bigger problems. See, the whole goal is to launch newspapers either into the mailboxes or the front doors. If you fail to do so, or if your accuracy is off and a paper goes through a pane of glass, that homeowner will cancel their subscription. You can break windows for any other homes with no penalty. In fact, if you do any sort of additional vandalism, you actually get points for it, and being that this is an older arcade game, score is what you're aiming for. As long as you keep at least one subscriber, you move on to the next day, of which the game takes place over 3 weeks. But there's added incentive to be flawless in your delivery. You get an extra life if you deliver to all of the mailboxes. And believe me, you're gonna need those lives, as this game is difficult to make any progress in. First off, going down the street at maximum speed isn't always the best idea. Hazards may appear with minimal notice, and if you are going too fast, you may not be able to swerve out of the way. At the same time, on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you are going too slowly, you might not be able to fully clear a jump or outrun the threat. Secondly, there is some questionable hit detection at times. I'll throw a newspaper and think it's a perfect trajectory for the mailbox, but then it goes through a window anyway. There are also times where I think I'm gonna dodge a fence, but nope, crash right into it. You only get 5 lives, and they dwindle quickly, even a few days into the game. Sure, if you're really good at Paperboy, you might be able to scrounge up a few extra lives, but if you suck, you won't really make any real progress. You might think, well, why not stick to either the street or sidewalk? There's no reason to go onto the yards, right? Well, not entirely. Traffic is a real problem, and if you stick to sidewalks, you'll often run into runaway strollers with not a panicking parent in sight. Plus, you do need to occasionally drive onto people's lawns to get extra newspapers, since the supply is not unlimited. Of course, you are in the most danger when you are not on the sidewalk or street, but no matter what, your paperboy/girl is always in danger. If you can make it to the end of your route for the day, you do get to take a small break by competing in a bonus course. Here, you have an infinite amount of newspapers, and your goal now is to rack up as many points as possible by hitting various targets and making it to the end. If you fall off your bike at this point, you don't lose a life and simply move on to the next day. I'm so bad at Paperboy that I rarely ever reach the end of these bonus courses. If you can somehow make it past the first week, you do get access to a password. This password is inputted on the start screen at the route selection. As a kid, this route option confused me, as I thought it actually changed the level layout. But no, it's just a password, which also needs to be cycled through, as opposed to a standard password input. The second and third weeks give you longer levels, more subscribers, and obviously even more hazards. And that's really it for Paperboy 2. I've never in my life made it to week 2. Ever. I'm terrible at the game, and maybe that's why I'm not the biggest fan of it. But there are often games out there where I'm lackluster at them, but can still understand why most players call it a good game. Paperboy 2 is not one of those games. The sound is subpar, the graphics basic, and I feel like the gameplay is just kind of mediocre and frustrating. I wish I could understand why many players enjoy the game, but I just can't see it. Maybe you guys can call out what I'm missing, as I'm sincerely interested. But again, my rating will anger many people, but it is my opinion. Final score, 3 out of 7. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.